Hi, I'm Jeff Cogswell. Today, let's look at how Cilk Plus can be used to generate both multi-core and vectorized code. Typically, when we look at Cilk Plus, we focus on the multi-core aspects. When you create a loop in Cilk Plus, it'll generate code that will, at runtime, determine how many cores you have on your machine and which cores are available to it, and then it'll make use of as many cores as possible. Well, with multi-core, you also have vectorization in each of those cores. So a really good goal is to get parallel code running on multiple cores and have each core do vectorization. Now, if you have a loop, you can spawn those loops across multiple cores and then try to get vectorization on each one. So let's see if we can do that. Let's go over here and create a new project. Now I'm just going to make a console app here. And it really doesn't matter which of these you choose. Okay, now the first thing we want to do is switch over to the Intel compiler. So we go to Project, Intel Composer, use Intel C++. And it'll give us our message. We click OK. And now we're switched over to the Intel compiler. Now I've got some code over here. Let me grab it. Okay, now let's go ahead and switch this over to release mode. We don't get optimization with debug mode, so we won't get to see the vectorization there either. And then we go over to properties. And we click the vectorization diagnostic level and choose number 2, loop successfully and unsuccessfully vectorized. Click OK. And we'll go ahead and save all. Now you could optionally switch this to a 64-bit, which is generally what you want, but for this short little demo, we'll just leave it at Win32. And we'll go ahead and build. And over here we can see loop was vectorized. The two that say loop was not vectorized are inside the header files, and that's fine. Our loops at line 16 and 22 in our source code were vectorized. And that would be this loop right here and this loop down here. So they were indeed vectorized. So we can run it. We're not going to see much when we actually run it, but let's just instead talk about what we've got here. Cilk 4 spawns its loops across multiple cores, which is what we've talked about in the past. But now we can see that it also does vectorization. How can we be sure that it's actually going across multiple cores? We saw in the compiler output that it's saying it's vectorized, but as for multiple cores, that's where we start using all of our other tools that come with Intel Parallel Studio, our advisor, amplifier, inspector, and then we can also just test it out by looking at the task manager and see that it's going across multiple cores. And so that's how Cilk Plus works across not only multiple cores, but vectorization. Remember that each core inside the processor has its own set of registers and therefore can do its own vectorization separately from the other cores. I know that's a question that comes up a lot, and so we can see our answer is indeed true, that we do have SIMD vectorization in each core.